Our beautiful evening, one of the best evening that any believer needs to be, because it is a moment of looking at the scriptures, a moment of engaging our mind, and also to learn from one another. So one of the things that love to say all the time is that the day you stop learning is the day you die. And I'm also, no one has got monopoly of knowledge. There are, you say one good thing about theology or about God, put it this way, is that God continues to speak all the time on a regular basis to his children. So revelation keep coming in all the time. So you need to stay active and actively engage as well, so that we continue to grow and grow and grow until he returns. So we'll continue in number 6. What does a real Christian look like? Number 6 today, we're looking at care for fellow believers. Care for fellow believers. You see, one of the major problems of Ananias and Sapphira was the fact that they've given their life to Christ. They are part of the ministry, and they have enjoyed the benefits and the goodness of others. So it now comes to a point that out of the abundance of God's blessing upon them, and as part of the group, as part of the ministry, that they too need to contribute, to care for fellow believers. And that is where they made the greatest mistake. You see, there are two definite and practical actions that the church today really need to embrace. When the moment we look at the church history, what made the early church so powerful, so effective, that even the government of the land, were so fearful of them. And when you come back to the scripture, the Bible also told us in Psalm 133 that how sweet and pleasant it is when brethren, believer, comes together. And I know there is a proverb in Yoruba that, you see, the broom, when you look at the broom, it's difficult to break the broom. So because they are in group, they are in bunch of brooms. But if it's a single one, you can easily toy, you can easily destroy it. So there is power, there is joy, there is so many things that you can begin to talk about that humanity, particularly human beings, that we're looking for. But many people have not been able to find outside. So if the secular world, if a nuclear family, if the extended family were unable to provide that, so what now happens when we now belongs to the Christian family? So the Christian family needs to be completely different, enjoyable, comfortable, peaceful. But you'll be surprised that the Christian family today has become toxic. That sometimes you begin to find that your best friends may not even be members of the church, may not even be Christian. May not even be Christians. They may be, they may even be people that do not even believe in God at all. But they have good moral ethics. In the sense that their yes is yes, their no is no, they are kind, they are, they love humanity, they love to do good things. But you can't find that. Not that you can't find that, but sometimes in the church presents something contrary. And you begin to wonder that what is going on in the church? What kind of people do we have? You see, you giving to those in need and showing hospitality happens to be the core foundation of the early church. And that helped them to really move and to grow and to expand. Because they discovered that they were united, they were together, they eat together, they dance together. When you look at Jesus' style of ministry, how come that, after the crusade, he always wants to eat. He also always wants, and he doesn't like to eat alone, he always wants to dine with people. I don't know if Pastor Michael can testify to this, that in the old church many years ago, that I always make sure there are food and drinks in the church, or that there will be food to eat on Sunday. Because the whole idea was, when we were growing up, it was like that. So the church was so free. People, you don't need to struggle to now begin to, where do I get food from to eat tonight? Because some people will go home, they become so tired, they can no longer cook, they do not, some will even, you'll be looking at someone, they're looking well, they're looking good, but they may not have food at home. And it's not many people that will come and be telling you that do not have food at home. So when you see church that wear such things, that they eat together, they dine together, it makes them to bond, it makes them to unite, it makes them to begin to look for the progress of one another. And we did that a lot those days. Because we discovered that when members are looking for job, there is also somebody right in the church who is able to help. We tell them, come to my place of work, they're looking for this. Oh, come to this, come to that, come to that. And the family, they become so powerful. They become so, knit together, and they begin to care for one another. So meeting the need and the hospitality of one another is the key of any believer. And we are to look after those who are hurting, either materially, financially, personally, spiritually, whatever it is that they need that can make them to be more comfortable, better than where they were coming from, giving them the picture that they are in believers' environment. But if today's church has become something else, today's church has become like a class, because you now have the upper class, you have the middle class, you have the lower class, you even have the pauper class as well in today's church. Because the bigger you are, the better the chair that they provide you to sit on, and the recognition, the respect they give you, the honor that you get, and that now start to bring a class and a distinctive a difference amongst believers as well. So I am convinced that if we try to emulate the early church in their approach to the Christian life, in the way they relate with one another, in the way they work together, in the way they look after each other's well-being, then today's church will be much more better, and they will be much more stronger, and will be able to make an impact and affect the community better than the way we do at the moment. But the thing is, amongst ourselves, because sometimes we talk about going into the world, the evangelism and all that. Yet the Matthew 28, Mark 16:15 already authorizes us to do that. But guess what? We started this teaching from about 6 weeks ago, based on the fact that the Christian life, it was the people in Antioch that decided to call the disciples Christian, based on three issues: their character, their behavior, and the way they speak. And those are the things that qualify them. And imagine, even when Jesus left, they were still together. And they still care for one another. Why would the disciple now start to, when they begin to grow and they have to create the deacons, the office of the deacons, with a primary responsibility of welfare, looking after, taking care of. And I'm sure that you will figure out now this concept of 4W, that it is not just word. You can, your word can be as good as anything. You can even be more. Better than Augustine's or Papayas and so on. But If you have no charity, I think the scripture talks about it, that if I have all the gifts, if I have all the gifts, and I speak like, like whatever you want to speak of. So, and if you do not have love, and he said, all what you have is nothing but vanity. Thank God we have Bible encyclopedia here. So quickly give me the reference in Corinthians, where the Bible talks about that if you have all the gifts and and we do, pardon?
1 Corinthians 13.
Okay, that we do not have love, and he said we are nothing but vanity, because you cannot say you love God and you are not exhibiting it on God's children. It's amazing that some people say, I love God, but one thing I learned from one of my late fathers in the Lord was that if you tell him that God sees you, he will tell you, okay, and God sees everybody, even the evil. God sees the evil. So whatever is underneath the sun or in the earth, wherever it is, God sees them. But you know something? I am not God. So let people see you. You understand? He said, let people see you. If you say you love God, show the love and the kindness to people. Yeah, I get the fact. I get the point that sometimes they take advantage. Sometimes they abuse the privilege. Sometimes, they can make you to, to change your mind. They can get you angry. They can make you to sin. This night, about a few minutes ago, I was discussing with my uncle. They were asking me questions about the issue of Abraham, that God told Abraham to leave his father's house, and he went. They said they read the story in their Bible studies, in their prayer point in the early morning devotion this morning. So they're now waiting for me to explain. So which I explained around 6:30 ago. That why now the same God that told Abraham that to leave and do not take anything with him, but Abraham went and took Lot with him. And I said, yes, and I said, okay, you look at it this way. I said, uncle, he said, yes. Lot do not have any relations. The only person remaining happens to be Abraham. Now, what do you expect Abraham to do? I said, you as a person, what will you do if you are in that situation? Will you leave your nephew in a place that God said you should live, without taking him along with you? Is it not an indication that Abraham too demonstrated the Christian virtue? That is, he said they did not look at it that way, but look at it, at the same time, we also need to see the perspective of God, because maybe God, the all-knowing God, know that Abraham was going to, that Lot was going to be unfaithful to Abraham at a stage in life, and he demonstrated that. But if you look at the analysis critically, Abraham didn't respond based on Lot's attitude. Because if it were to be you and I, that despite the fact that I did it for you, God said I partially disobeyed God, that I should not take anything with me. I took you along with me, but guess now this is the way you're paying me. Now that you're going to be, now in Sodom and Gomorrah, destruction is going to come. Some of us will say we give glory to God that let him die, let him go. We still, they're not going to show that kindness. But look at it this way: Abraham demonstrated the love, the care for fellow believers, and he did. So he didn't wait until to get to the New Testament before we now begin to practice what the New Testament teachers said. So Abraham demonstrated it because you care about this individual, even though the individual hurt you, but still, when Abraham had the opportunity to save Lot's life, he did. So humanity will continue to hurt us, they will continue to afflict us, they will continue to wrong us. But my question to you tonight is, how many times have you and I done wrongs to God that he decided to show us mercy in all ways of our life, Because even the scripture says, if you are to mark iniquities, who amongst us can stand? But as a believer, if our life is not showing kindness, care for believer, for fellow believers in particular, some people will say, I prefer to help an outsider than to help members of the church. Then your Christian virtues, or your Christian, not even Christian virtue, your notion of Christianity needs to be reviewed again. You need to rediscover who you really are, whether you're a Christian or you are a church goer. Because if you cannot, bless, promote, honor, liberate, support, be kind, be faithful, be merciful to your fellow believers, how do you encourage those who are outside the box to say, oh, these people, we need to join them? Do you think it was just the prayer of the disciple that made the people to join them? But you can see from Jesus' demonstration. So after the crusade, then, he felt that these people need to be taken care of. And the disciples were like, where are we going to get the food from to look after these people? He demonstrated the fact that, look, you do not just need to give them the word, you also need to give them the food. You also need to cover their nakedness. And he preached all this all the way through in ministry. Because he said, look, if I am hungry, you gave me food. I am thirsty, you gave me water. And they begin to wonder when. He said, when you do it to these people, to the poor, you have done it to me. So, I want us to also look at Hebrews chapter 13. When you look at Hebrews chapter 13 verse 1, and the Bible talks about that showing hospitality is a great gain, because by so doing, many people have been able to give, to do great things, to the angels, without them realizing that they are angels. And the story that the Bible is talking about here, it was still the same about Abraham. So how he entertained, those that were sent on a mission to go and destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. How he entertained them by that version of decision. And that same decision became the turning point in his life and in the life of Sarah. At CAC, to preach one day, was me and Evangelist Akin that went with me. And my question on that day to provoke them was that, you look at it this way, Abraham didn't ask Sarah's permission before allowing, the men that were on a mission to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah to stay overnight. He didn't ask for Sarah's permission, and Sarah did not disagree. She listened. Sarah went to go and prepare food, something that she was never planned for. And I was now like, if today, as a man decided to do that, just bring stranger to the house and say, my wife, my dad, they are going to sleep here for this night, how will you respond? How will you respond? Hello? I'm sure Evangelist Akin do you still remember that teaching that day?
Yes, sir, I did.
Yeah, you understand? How will you respond as a wife? Or let's say the other way around, as an husband, that your wife decided to bring some men, 3 men into the house and say, they are going to sleep over and going to give them food. How will you respond? And that's an indication to me, beloved, that there are some believers that do not even need to fast and pray any longer. All what you just need to do is just an act of kindness. There are some believers that no longer need to be going for deliverance. All you need to do is to show kindness. And the kindness at that particular moment provoke a long time waiting. Now, the question tonight is, if Abraham and Sarah do not have an agreement or on the same platform, and they do not do what they did, well, it's the will of God that is still going to bless them, but I want to believe that maybe it wouldn't have happened at the time that it happens. That's my view. And also you also need to learn that even though God said you are going to do something, but you also need to understand that we need to activate it. We need to activate it. There's a role that we need to play. There's a role that, somebody bought you a car, but you need to drive the car for the car to take you from one point to another point. So the car is not going to drive you. So you also need to understand that if God said, I'm going to do this, there's a role that you need to play to activate. So sometimes you went on the mountain, you are fasting and praying, and you're not thinking that, when is God going to answer? Maybe he had already answered, but you need to activate that answers to come by showing kindness, by showing care for your fellow believers. Is there any questions on this? Any questions or anyone that wants to contribute, that wants to add more? Or perhaps there is a personal testimony that you may likely want to share with us, tonight, so that others can learn from it. There's, Okay. So let's move on to the next one. The next one, number 7, I call it bless others graciously. Bless others graciously. For those that just joining this series, the teaching is based on Romans chapter 12. Romans chapter 12. And I've already went to the background, introduction. So don't let me be repeating the introduction again, so that Reverend Lawrence will not have a case against me. But each time he said I behave like a teacher, I always go back, before dealing with the present. Okay? So, let's bless others graciously. You see, there is a clear shift in tone when you look at when you look at it beginning from verse 14, in the sense that it runs through the remainder of this chapter, telling us and indicating that blessing others should be a gracious thing. It should be something that we are happy with, not to do it grudgingly. And if you look at Paul, he talks about all these things all the time. Why we need to give, joyfully, not without grudging, not without animosity. They do not need to cajole you. They do not need to brainwash you. You see, sometimes when we not trying to blame some pastors that they now begin to brainwash people. They have to lie on conjure some statement, lie on the Holy Spirit, that the Lord just told me now that 10 people that can give 1,000 pounds, they should quickly come out because all manners of things begin. Because if you look at it this way, do you need to get to that level? Do we need to get to that level? In my own view, the answer is no. The answer is no. When you look at what happens to Ananias and Sapphira, you understand? We're still talking about the same thing. Do we know? No, how can you say you're a member of a church? You understand? That you are not. The church is in need. You have what it takes to support. Your contribution, your tithe, your offering, I have said it before, whether you pay tithe or you do not pay tithe, has nothing to do with your prosperity, with your blessing, with God blessing you. But you just have to get one thing clear. How can you be a child of God and then there is a need? You understand? There is a need in your church, and that need require your financial support, and it become a difficult thing for you to do. So most people that were running their mouth all over the social media, You understand? You know fully well that they are not believers. Because if you're really a believer, yes, you can say to me, but those pastors today, you see, we are very quick in judging that, they manipulate them, they do that. Yes, they do. Because when you have people that are not, believers, that do not know what it means to give. Imagine Mark, that his lunch, his packed lunch. He could have decided to say that this is only for me, only for me and for me alone. What would I mean? But look at it at that young age, at that particular young age, and he was able to release. So also we need to start to teach our children the ability to give. The ability to give. Children, they like to hold on to things. And when you start to see some kid that when you give them cookies and they find it difficult to share the cookies, then you know that you need to do a lot of work. But most parents will say, if they're still a child, don't worry yourself. You see, gradually, that is the way they will grow up. We grew them up now, they become so, the kind of world that they live in now. They now become so self-centered, so selfish, all about them. They don't know how to share. They don't know how to go out of their way to meet the needs of others. They cannot, there are so many things they cannot do. But whereas there are many things that you and I can do, we can suffer ourselves for other people. When I say suffer ourselves, I mean, don't let me use the word suffer. We can deny ourselves few things for the sake of others, for the sake of people that we care about. So, and there have been many times that let me give you an example. It's not because it's here that I'm making me to say these things. During my trip coming here, and I had to leave home early in the morning, and the time I told Evangelist Akin to come and pick me, I know he'll be going to work in the morning. You understand? And then I changed the time again. I said, look, I want to leave earlier. And he had to come all the way from his house to come and pick me, go and drop me at the airport to now to go. You see, sometimes we do all these things, not that it's convenient. I don't know if you understand where I'm going. Not that it's convenient, but we do it with joyfully, with happiness, with gladness, not grudgingly, not the fact that is he only the pastor? Is only the not pastor? Because I come to your church, is that the reason that I should be manipulated and I should be this? A lot of things will begin to happen. People will begin to say all manners of things. But the question I'm putting across to us is very clear. Guess what? That whatever we do, we should do it with joy, with happiness. It must come from our heart. Not that somebody needs to cajole you, need to manipulate you before you now begins to do. So, if you agree that with me, then you just have to understand where Paul was going. Then what Paul was trying to put across. That our giving should be joyful. We should not be compelled to do it. And both him and Jesus demonstrated that principle. Because in Philippians 4, you also know what he said. He said, look, not that I need, not that I lack. I have learned to be to be comfortable in whatever situation I am. In time when there is, fine. If there is none, fine. But he said, because you did this, I don't know if you understand. How can you be a member of a church and you are not financially committed to that church? But you see some believers say, I will give to charity. You are bound to give to charity, but your church is not a charity. Your giving to charity is a different thing entirely, different from your church supporting the gospel. That's what it's all about. Because you've given to the charity, you do not need to give to the church. How is your church going to pay bills? Do we need anyone to explain that to us? I don't think so. I don't think so. That you know it because we pay bills at home. Then the church need to pay bills. The church need to, there's so many things that the church has to do. For you to be comfortable on each time you come to church to worship. And you can see why Ananias and Sapphira had to die. Because they were not giving joyfully. They were giving grudgingly. So in other words, they were not gracious in what they were giving. And because they were so, they were unfaithful, they are so cunning, and they are so deceitful, and you know what happens to them. So living under the lordship of Jesus Christ does not leave off any areas of our life. Living under the lordship of Jesus Christ does not leave off any areas of our life. It includes everything that we have. Your wisdom, your skill, your finance, your physical ability, everything, your spiritual gift, everything that you have is for the kingdom, is to support the work of God. So any questions on number 7? Or any support, any testifier, anyone that wants to share experience? Or perhaps you have a question.
I just want to ask a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Because, when the Bible said that none of them lack, at times I just always wonder that what does it really mean? Because how can the church?
You see,
How can the church do that no one lacking?
yeah, but you see, it is very simple. You see, because the strong will lift up the hands of the weak. You get. So, in other words, every one of them they have, they do not lack anything, because those who have, they were putting into the commonwealth of purse. So, those who do not have, they have no reason to lack, because in the commonwealth of purse there is an abundance that you and I can go in there to go and take what we need. You too will come in to come and take what you need. And for that reason, so no single person that are part of the ministry lack anything, because there is always an increase, there is always an abundance. You see, and we can look at this from a literary perspective. Do you know that if a church with somebody like let's say in Africa, let's say somebody like Dangote. If you have somebody like Dangote in your church, don't you think it's enough to feed so many people in that church that they will never lack? Are you with me? Not to talk of a Bill Gates, not to talk of Elon Musk or so on. That I think it's something that I have we joke about all the time. That if I win 200 million pounds on lottery, there will be no one in that church. You understand? No one in that church that are a member that will not be a homeowner, that will owe a mortgage. I don't know if you understand. Yeah, there will be no one that will owe a mortgage, because what I will do is that give me your mortgage account. How much is left? You pay directly to the mortgage bank. Then you free every single person. I don't know if you, because you can't spend the money alone. You can't spend the money, and you know what that is going to do? It means effectively the major amount. You know, like me. I mean, my mortgage before was 500. It's now up to it's now about 900. After, you know, all this nonsense that happens from 500 to 900 now, it is a struggle to pay. But you see what I'm saying is, if somebody paid that off for you, so see the amount of money that you are now saving every month for you to do so many other things that you want to do. Why will you lack? Do you understand? Why will you lack? Because if you are a believer that you are so much blessed, you are blessed because of the church, because of the believer. You are not the blessing is not just because of you alone. Whatever blessing that you have that is not affecting the congregation that you belongs to, then you are not a believer. You are not. Don't just be saying that you belong to that church. You do not belong to that church, because you do not. Because if you only belong by mouth, not by action, not by your deeds. Because no one around you should remain poor. No one around you should remain poor. And that's what it means, that all of them, they never lack. How would they lack? You tell me. How? You need a job. Getting a job. Look, it's a pity that things have turned this way. Ask those that have been coming with me, they will tell you. There is no one in our church that will not get a job. Because I will make, once they say they need a job, I will force those who are employer. Do you know how many number of people I will have to employ without papers? My first cousin. Do you know how many number of people I made him to employ? That even when they do not have papers. That I made him to employ. So, you see, because you fix them. And when you fix them, they become dedicated, they become committed to the church. They become, and those are the things that grow the early church. They see the church as their own family. What their nuclear family cannot do for them, the church was able to do. Many people today, if we are to be honest with our testimony, we are who we are today as a result of people we met in the church. And we're the same people that will complain that the church do not do, the church do not do, the church do not do this. But you are who you are today as a result of people you met in the church. They were the same people that made a difference in your life. Sorry. Oh dear. Just a second, somebody, they. Oh dear. Hello? Hello, Pastor. So can you hear me? Yeah. All right, I'm serious. I'm sorry. It was a call from Lagos Church that came through, but I couldn't. I was trying to stop it, and I ended up, ending the Zoom. So where are we? Yeah.
What we used to do in the old ministry.
In the old ministry, yes.
Normally employ people.
Yeah. Yes, so we do that a lot. We do that a lot. And that's why that, if you remember, Pastor, that was one of the reasons, they think that, I have voodoo that I'm using, for people and all that, because everybody became blessed. So they do not understand the principles I was putting in place. They do not understand the whole idea that I was using voodoo, I was using destiny. Hold on a second. I'll call you back. I'm busy. I will call you.
Okay, no problem, sir.
You say you discover that because they do not have an idea what it's all about, So it was so easy to say, oh, they were using this, they were using that. But look at, just like the question that the evangelist asked, when things like that happen, you understand? People will love to be part of the church. And that was the genesis of the immigration breakthrough. Pastor, you remember?
Yes, sir.
You know, was the genesis of the immigration breakthrough. You know, so I just feel that as a church, there's so much that there's so much that we can do. There's so much. And so, any question? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, okay. So let's look at number 8. Then we stop it at number 8. Number 8 is be kind in what you say. Be kind in what you say. So Romans 12:14. As I've said to you, so all is from this Romans. You see, be kind in what you say. Be kind in what you say. I don't want to press that too much, but I also want us to understand that the word that comes out of our mouth can build and it can destroy, it can kill. Even if you have nothing to offer the person, don't add more to their pain by what you say. But am I the architect of your problem? That's not really nice. Do I send you? That's not really nice. Perhaps the word that we say, there's some people that they may not even need your money. They just need to talk. They just need to hear a word of assurance from you. And you can imagine you as a man of God or a woman of God, when you tell someone, don't worry, all is going to be well. You understand? Then you take it on they will take it on that basis. And for me, what I do is I say, don't worry, all is going to be well. Then that now continue to get me concerned that, look, I have just said to this person that don't worry, all is going to be well. I better start to pray. Maybe I'm starting to share my own little way with you now. Then I will start to pray because I've told him or her that don't worry, all is going to be well. So then I will start to pray that, Lord, just honor that word. What I have just said, honor it. Let it be well. Let everything work out according to your plan for this person. But even if it is not what she deserves, but please, for the sake of calling, please. So these are things because you say they need word to hear from you. So be kind in what you say, and that's exactly what we see in Matthew chapter 5 verse 44. Matthew chapter 5 verse 44 says, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, pray for those who spitefully use and persecute you. You see, because our words at times can be prophetic. It can be prophetic. And at the moment they take it as the word of God, they will run with it. Even if at the stage they were challenged, they were troubled, because they hold you in high esteem as a servant of God, and you have pronounced the word of God upon them. That in itself will build them up. That in itself will ginger them. That in itself will help their faith. It will help their faith. Or you say to them, look, you are not alone in what you're going through. We are in it together. I don't think you are traveling through this journey alone. We are in it together. And if you are in need together, then we continue to pray together. So the word you say, let your word reflect the kindness. Let your word reflect love. You say, don't forget that the early Christians, one of the things was what? Their words, what they say, what they do, their character is what make people to say they are Christian. So we too, we need to be kind. We need to be kind. We need to be kind. We need to be kind with one another. Particularly in what you say to people, how you address people. Sometimes you see many believers that are so arrogant, so pompous. They feel that they are the Almighty. They can talk to anyone anyhow. Let's come back to the story of Naaman. Let's come back to the story of Naaman. You can just look at Naaman. That one of the things one of the lessons one can learn from that story was the fact that the maid servant was able to come before him to explain things to him, because the maid servant knows someone that Naaman do not know. And that is a clear indication that you do not have monopoly of knowledge. You do not know it all. Don't make yourself to think that you are all in all. You are smarter than everybody. What will happen is that they will wait for you to fail, because when they have information that can bless you, they will not tell you, because they will not share those information with you based on the fact that they believe that you are Mr. or Madam Know-All. So therefore they wait for you to fall. They wait for you to fall. Your housemaid, your driver, your cook, your usher, your choir, your media, your protocol, your security, whatever departments you have in the church, the least member in that church knows something that you do not know. They may have information that could be of help to you. They may have information that may help your life, that may perhaps even help your ministry too. So, but if the way you talk to them is not very nice, not very kind, then I can assure you that they will not go. They will not come back. Because when you have a situation that, go away, leave me alone. Go away, leave me alone. I don't have your time. I don't, maybe if you are just friends, maybe you can say that, when you are friends, you're on a joking level. That is understandable. And another thing I want us to understand, that because you are friendly with your pastor, it's not a license for abuse. It's not a license for abuse. Why do I say that? Sometimes closeness may make you not to benefit from God's grace upon that individual. It may make you not to benefit upon that individual. And like what they say in Nigeria, it may be see finish. See finish, because you've seen him finish, you've seen her finish. So for that reason, you may not be willing to, to discuss things, to tell him that, you may not have confidence and all that. But let me tell you something. Even in your friendship or relationship, let there be boundary. Otherwise, you will not be able to get blessed from the grace of God upon this individual. Upon this individual. So that's why there should be demarcation. There should be demarcation. And likewise too, so as a leader, we also need to be very careful on what we say. The kind of joke that we joke, particularly with our members. We need to be very careful. We need to be very careful. So be kind in what you say, so that it will not be taken against you. Any questions so far? Any question? Anyway, if there is no questions, I think we can stop there. Abi, what do you think?
That's good.
Yep. So those on the social media, what we've been looking at is what does a real Christian look like? What does a real Christian look like? Tonight we've been able to look at be kind in what you say, bless others graciously, care for fellow believers, rejoice with hope, serve the Lord. Then issue raised by honoring others. We look at those issues. Hate what is evil, then love others sincerely. Those are the 8 things that we've discussed so far. By the grace of God, we'll continue next week, same time, as we continue to look at what does a real Christian look like. So if you're able to follow these steps, you can be rest assured that our Christian life will change. Our approach to issues too will change. And people will be able to make reference to us that, look, I need to go and join these people because they are different. They are kind. They are loving. They are caring. You know, they'll be willing to be part of you. So that's what I have come to share with you tonight. So over to you, Pastor Michael.